Good morning, one and all. Uh, yes, this is about the lecture series of falls, where we have started from 18th of April. And you all know that Pradnya delivered the lecture on the history of aging and current definition of aging by WHO, then impact of normal aging and functional interruptions in the fall. And on very second day, Pratima she has thrown an idea on the epidemiology of fall and the functional consequences, causes, and complication of the fall. And then on yesterday, Ankita she has thrown an idea on the evidence-based practice or evidence-based strategies of the fall. So today is the fall policy, and in this policy, we are not going to see any policies like which is made for the falls, like insurance and all. This is the policy with the strategies for the falls. So when the word comes like fall in our mind, we always stand for the elderly population. But if you go through the WHO, what they have talked about the falls and all in last year, uh, so you can see that the today's overview on the presentation will be like what it will be suggested in the prevention policies, like definition of the fall risk assessment for inpatient, and fall risk assessment for outpatient, environmental rounds, sorry, and intervention strategies, and post-fall procedure of the management, and example fall prevention and management program core policy. Now, before going to this overview, just I will highlight on what the WHO says. So, what WHO actually say that falls are very common and second leading cause of accidental and unintentional injury over the worldwide, and it can be a fatal as well as a non-fatal. Fatal is very actually what I prefer. Fatal is always good than the non-fatal, because if the non-fatal is there, then they may land up with some comorbidities and other problem, and then the disability may chances may be more. So every year, according to WHO, it is estimated that 6,45,000 individuals die from falls globally, of which over 80% are in low and middle income countries. Adults older than 65 years of age suffer the greatest number of fatal falls. So you can see that 65 above age, they suffer the greatest number of the uh, fatal falls. So that means they die. Fatal is nothing but a death. And the 37.3 million falls that are severe enough to require the medical attention occur each year. So what I want to focus over here, why we are seeing throughout the fall risk assessment for inpatient and fall assessment for outpatient. Outpatient are a patient in the community or in the society with some other disability. But the false patient, those are inpatient. What policies that we have to develop for that, that is more important. So prevention strategy should emphasizes on education. It should be emphasizes on training, creating safer environment to the fallers, and prioritizing fall-related research, and establishing the effective policies among those patients for reducing the risk. Now, risk is in all age group, and maximum is in elderly age group, and the genders are more affected. Now again, Chetna will say why the genders are more affected. Yes, here the reason is that the male gender means males are more affected. Males are more affected than the female. The reason is that males are outstation working, they work out and rather than the household activity where the females perform. So working outside is more hazards, dangers are there, like in the how the workstation is. Some are in the they have to work at the height level, at the low level, or some cluttered area, whatever it be. So chances of falls may be more in the working place than in the home place. So globally, what the falls is defined, that an event which result in a person coming at the rest accidentally on the ground or floor or other lower level. So these are the definition which is given by the WHO. And the fall related injuries, it may be a fatal and a non-fatal. So globally, falls are a major public health problem, and it is estimated that around what I told you about 6,46,000 fatal fall occur every year, and second leading cause of unintentional injury death after road traffic injuries. Over 80% of fall related fatalities occur in low and middle income countries. So this is what we have seen. So now age. So age is the one of the key risk factors for fall, and older people have the highest risk of death or serious injuries arising from fall, and risk increases with age. Across all age group and region, both genders, male and female, are at the risk of falls. But in some countries where the developed countries and it noted that males are more likely to fatal group, or it can more males are more likely to die from a fall, while females suffer more non-fatal falls. And older women and younger children are especially prone to falls and increase injury in the severity. So worldwide, males consistently sustain the highest death rate because of some other risk factors, which is included. I told you that occupation at elevated height or other hazards working condition. Sometimes the alcohol consumptions using during the work. So these are the some or some underlying medical conditions such as neurological, cardiac, or other disable condition, or sometimes the side effect of the medication, physical inactivity, loss of balance, particularly among the older people. So this is what the overview of the WHO was given regarding the fall. Now we will go one by one regarding what is a fall. So already I have told you the fall definition about the WHO. So these are the following suggested fall prevention policies and the definition according to. So now here the fall is defined as an event which result in a person coming to rest inadvertently on the ground or floor or other lower level. So it is defined as a sudden, it is a uncontrolled, sudden, unintentional downward displacement of the body to the ground or other object, excluding falls resulting from violent blow or other purposeful action. So this is what the clear definition was given, and then classified into two form again: near fall and the unwitnessed fall. So a near fall is a sudden loss of balance that does not result in a fall or other injury. But this can include a person who slips, stumbles, or trips, but they are able to regain control prior to falling. That is called a near fall. Okay. Sudden loss of balance that does not result in a fall, but they are able to regain control prior to falling. That is called near fall. Unwitnessed fall, it occurs when the patient is found on the floor, but neither the patient nor anyone else knows how he or she got there. But you can see an unconscious patient who is lying on there, and no one is witnessed to this fall, and this is called also a falls. Okay, so this is how they have classified the falls definition. So first one was the fall, then near fall, and the unwitnessed fall. Fall risk assessment of inpatient, which is very important domain. Whenever we are dealing in the inpatient, when we are seeing the inpatients, each and every patient has got fall. And the fall assessment is not only the job of a physiotherapy to see them, it is a job of from a technician or a health worker who is working in the hospital till the medical superintendent, or you can say a doctor or a physician. From top to from lower bottom, everyone should know what are the risk factors of the falls and how the inpatient mm, can get a patient who's are admitted can get a fall, and what are the risk factors around and surrounding to them. So the patient should be assessed for their fall risk. How? On admission to the facilities. Once the patient is admitted, we have to see what are the facilities are provided and how that facilities can become a barrier or a facilitator, or how it can be a risk, or how you can prevent the risk. So all this we have to look after the as per the age. Then second, you have to assess for their fall risk, like on any transfer from one unit to another within the facilities. Any transfer from one unit to another unit, from one ward to another ward within the facilities. So in that also, whether there's any risk of fall, like slippery floors, but wheelchair is not good, or the walker is not good, or transferring technician or the nurse or the attendants, they do not follow all those protocol. So that also we have to see. Huh? Then following any changes of the status, following a fall, then on regular interval, you should assess for the regular interval. It can be a weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, or daily. This is what we have to keep on doing the follow-up of the falls. It's not an only once we have to examine till the patient get discharged. So it is overall surrounding we have to see about the falls, and there should be an following the fall status should be followed for weekly, bi-weekly, daily, and monthly. Although there are many risk assessment tools which are available, and in routine practice we always practice fall efficacy scale or balance, Romberg signs, about and some questionnaires on the base of the fall history. We suggest them that he or she is leading to the are in the category of the falls. But now there are only two important fall risk assessment tools which are globally utilized for assessing the falls. Now, which are these two steps? One is the Morse fall risk assessment, and second is Hendrich fall risk assessment tool. One is Morse fall risk assessment tool, and second is Hendrich fall risk assessment tool. So these two assessment tools are basically used for assessing the risk of fall. Now, Morse fall risk assessment tool. This is the one of the most widely used fall risk assessment scale, which is available on WHO site, and it is very reliable and valid measures of fall risks assessment tools. If we go to this, you will see that the file. Yes, and here you can see the most widely used assessment tool and how they have graded. The most fall risk assessment tool, the risk factors they have given. Under the risk factors, they have given the history of falls, and the scale is yes or no. If history of fall on the base of the definition, whether it is 6 monthly or yearly, he had an episode of fall. If yes, then you have to score 25. Then secondary diagnosis, if any, if yes, then you have to score 15. If there is no, then this score should be 0. Ambulatory aids, whether they are using any furniture, or you can say crutches, cane, walker, or furniture means it is on the some type of couches and all. And if the crutches or cane of walker is used, then you have to give a 15 marks. And if none, then it should be an 0. So ambulatory aid, they are given the 30 and 15. Then heparin lock, yes, most of the time, 4 oblique heparin lock are mostly used. So if it is used, then it is lock, heparin lock, then you have to take 20 and then no is then gate oblique transferring impaired gate is there, then you should give the 20, and if it is weak, then it is 10. Then normal or bed rest immobile is 0. So and mental status, forget the limitation or oriented to one ability. If forget limitation, 15 and 0. So this most fall score and this score for each category, and then they have classified into 3 grades: high risk, moderate risk, and the low risk. If the score is more than 45 and higher, they are in the high risk of the fall. And if the score is 25 to 44, then they are in the low risk of the fall. And it is given here. And then 25 to 44 is the moderate risk of the fall, and 0 to 24 is the low risk of the fall. So they based on the most common score, which is used in the respect. The major advantage of this assessment uh, is that it is a research driven. Interventions are standardized by the level of risk. So you can standardize the your intervention by the level of this risk, at what level. If high risk, how the intervention can be matter. If it is moderate risk, how the intervention can be matter. And then low risk, how. So depending upon the risk, you can standardize the your intervention strategy. And the major disadvantage of this scale is that it is not designed for long-term care setting. Consequently, nearly all patients will be at high risk. Even I also feel that whenever you are using this scale, it is somewhat depend upon the perception also. So how do you can say great? For example, if you see the transferring gate and transferring, it is given impaired and is given weak. So how it is difficult to judge between impaired and weak, and that can be a vary minus plus risk factors may be there. And this is what you can see that most scale. Then we'll come to Henrich fall risk assessment scale. Now, Henrich fall risk assessment scale is also a second. Some long-term and geriatric wards are using this scale. In this scale, this is also for the fall risk assessment, which is the second standard scale. In this scale, the risk factors which are totally different domains are used here. If you see that recent history of all, whether it is yes or no, the scale say yes, then you have to score 7 marks. Then no, then it is 0. Then if the history of all is not itself there, then again the other questions are asked: altered elimination, incontinence, then the confusion, disorientation, depression, dizziness, vertigo, poor mobility, generalized weakness, and poor judgment if not confused. So such type of the domains are there, and these two scales are basically used for the fall risk assessment. The main advantage of this assessment tool is that it focuses intervention on the specific area of risk rather than general risk. Only a specific area, because they are given very clear idea about depression है या नहीं है, dizziness है या नहीं है. So है तो you can give the intervention for the dizziness or whatever. If there is no dizziness, then there is no. So specifically they have marked, and each to determine if someone is at high risk, because nearly every risk factors categorizing it categorize a patient at high risk, and there are only two category of the patient here. One is high risk and the low risk. In that scale, there was an uh, three risk factor. One is high risk, moderate, and the low risk. Now, what is the advantage of this scale? Um, so that was a research-driven scale. It is not a research-driven scale. Nearly every patient will put into the high-risk category. This scale is nearly all will be put into the high-risk category. That is a disadvantage of the scale. Now here we will compare now both the scales, uh, how the both the scales can be compare, and we will see which scales is more a good assessment depending how you structure your interventional program. So when we compare this scale, you will see that yes. So this scale is MFRA and HFRA. So Morse and the Hendrick assessment scale is there. So if you compare, you will see that what are the domains. Here the history of fall was there in the first risk factors, and there is the recent history of fall. Secondary diagnosis, no similar risk factors. Then here ambulatory aid was used 30 or 50, furniture and all they use. No similar risk factor was seen in the ambulatory. Heparin lock, which is basically under disability, there are no similar risk factors seen in the gait training. Poor mobility, generalized weakness. So mental status, there is confusion, disorientation, poor judgment was there. No similar risk factor like altered elimination disease. So there is no similarity. So this, when we compare both the thing, I think uh, both are good assessment depending on how you structure your interventional program, and it is based on the level of risk. Only the level of risk in the most fall efficacy is at the three level. One is high and moderate and the low. Here is only high and the low. So these are the two basic scales which are used for the fall risk assessment, and we have seen the comparative between both the scales. And both the scales are basically it should be used for fall risk assessment in inpatient. Now there are risk factors which are not captured either by this risk assessment and scale. Although the Morse fall risk assessment scale has a rating of 0 for patients who use wheelchair, some facilities have found that these patients are at the risk for falling. Wheelchair can tip over backwards or can slide out from under a patient while transfer. Although this event can be easily addressed with the use of wheelchair anti-tip devices and self-locking brakes, it is important to keep track on the data that could highlight other potential environmental risk at your facility, which can be dealt with easily in the assessment of risk in the inpatient assessment for risk. So this is what we have seen the fall risk assessment for the inpatient. Now we will see the fall risk assessment for outpatient. So outpatient fall risk assessment can be done on two levels. The primary care provider can do the initial screening, then refer patient that are at the risk. It can refer either to the physician, or you can refer to the physical therapy or the occupational therapy to perform more in-depth balance assessment. That can be done by the primary care providers. So here the initial screening for the fall risk is very important, and it can be done under two heading: initial risk screening, initial screening. First, uh, send a patient a self-report and review at the appointment. So you can make a self-structured report and you can review at the time of the appointment itself. So like what we have started a calls clinic in our department, and very efficiently all the students are involved and they are taking the efforts to do the fall risk assessment in at our OPD, and on the base of the questionnaire they have formed, we have formed, and then on the base of the questionnaire we categorized the elderly individuals into follower and non-follower group. Similarly, here the self-report and review at the appointment. If patient does not have a self-report, then go over it with them and ensure that these uh, by taking the history on the spot, like any history of fall is there, or you can just generate your 2 3 questions like whether she or he had a fall in the bathroom or at the night and how it was fall. So on that base also you can have the initial screening. Okay, on your talk, on your interview, on your asking some leading questions. Okay, or if several medications and supplements, if she said that she's taking a lot of medication or other supplement or any drugs, yeah, if you had that during your conversation with the patient, even you can make out that this would very likelihood to increase of falls in those patients. So this is called an initial screening. On conversation also you can make out, or on self-report question also you can make out there might be a false. Second, most common what we perform like time up and go test. So this test can be also performed, and everyone knows what is time up and go test. Place a chair against the wall or against any sturdy object. Set up a cone or other visible marker 8 feet away from the patient to walk around, and tell the patient to get up and walk as quickly as they can go around the object and sit back down. If patient takes longer than how many? I think 8.5 seconds. They should be considered at high risk and be transferred, or the and such patients should be transferred to the physiotherapist for further evaluation. And then allow the practice, and then you can allow the patient to practice at least once time, and then you can do. So this is how you can do the initial screening for the fall risk by self-report assessment or by self-conversation with the patient, by taking some history of the drugs or some environment, and then by performing the time up and go test, which we do the routine practice. Then come to the fourth point, that's an environmental rounds. Environmental round here, what I want to talk you about the like the facilities, management, nursing, biotechnology staff, other technician, physiotherapy, occupational therapist. What are the groups are there which move or which they move around the hospital or around the society? They perform the environmental rounds. They perform the environmental round. The, for example, you can say the facility management staff. What they confirm actually. Uh, they say that mm, the management say that the hallway, what are the hallways are there, like corridor and all that, and the patient area, they should be very well. There should be a very bright, or there should be a light, very open light and all, and it should be very bright. The area should not be dark, or it should not be covered. The hallways or the corridor and the patient areas are well lit. It should be well lit. Okay, that means it should be proper lighting should be there. That is the part of the management staff. So management staff, they have to confirm about all those things. It is not my job, but it is your job, but it is not another job. So how they have seen that the fall risk assessment can be done at that level also. So second, what facilities that management staff has to confirm. First, I told about the well lighting should be there. Then the corridor or the hallways and the patient areas are, you can say, the uncluttered. Okay, मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा बेंचेस टेबल या कारपेट अंदर बहुत रहता है तो चलने को दिक्कत हो जाती है. So it should be very, it should not be uncluttered, and it should be free from the pills. So that it should be very clear. It should be very clear. The ground should be, the area should be very clear. They should not be uncluttered. So that is how the management has to confirm about all those things. Like when we are walking from our physiotherapy OPD, and when you're crossing to the upstairs, you can see that the ortho department, there are a lot of benches, tables, and all. Sometimes we also have to take a narrow place and we have to climb up. So you can think about the patient, those are elder group. So for them, it's very difficult, and that can also lead to the fall. So this is how, who will confirm this? Not me or you. That is a policy of the management. So this is a very important domain, that environmental rounds. So now third, what management is, the locked doors are kept locked when unattended. Okay, so the locked doors, like if you see some, the doors are kept locked when it is not in used. So such type of the confirmation has to be taken from the, because if it is not in use and if it is not attended, then it's accidentally these patient which are a risk of all they goes. So some incidents can happen. And then handrails has to confirm, they have to see that handrails are secure and unobstructed. So management has to confirm all this. Then table and chairs, what are the arrangements are made in the OPD or in the corridor, it should be very sturdy. And नहीं तो chair पे बैठ गया और chair चले गए नीचे, तो falls down. So this is what the four domains, 4 5 domains should come under the facility management by the staff member. So this management staff has to confirm about the risk of fall should be avoided by making this arrangement. So making what? The corridor or the hallway and the patient area should be very well lit. Okay, meaning very well lighted. Then hallways and patient areas are, you are confirmed that they should be uncluttered and free from the space. Then locked doors are kept locked when unattended, and handrails are secure and it should be unobstructed. And table and chair should be very sturdy, which is made arrangement to sit around the OPD. So this is how the management has to confirm. Then biotech staff. So biotech staff are the nothing but the biotechnology staffs are there. So or orthotic, prosthetic people can be also called biotech, or some technicians which are dealing with the machines and all. So there are some staff which are appointed at the tertiary care centers, and this staff they have to confirm what they all the assistive devices are working properly or not at the time of the inspection. So here we can take the example of our orthotic prosthetic department. Like he has to see that what are the devices, assistive devices, which are used by the patient or the elderly people. It should be weekly. It should be inspected, and you have to see it should be working properly on the regular basis. So that he has to confirm. Then the nursing staff, which are more in number, maximum in number in the hospital, in the ward, and all over the area of the hospital. So they also have to see that what are the factors of the risk and how you can prevent the risk by confirming the areas. Patient rooms, they have to see that which are set up in such a way that minimize the risk of falling. They have to arrange in that way, like table, chair, or the couch should be at that some level, and they have to see that high fall risk room set up in an intervention section. That is very important. Then the duty of everyone, what they have to confirm. Everyone has to confirm about the unsafe situation that are dealt with immediately, either by dealing with this situation or notifying the appropriate staff and ensuring that they arrive and correct it, the situation immediately on the immediate complaint of any staff. So this is an environmental of the hospitals or of the ward and all. So this is the duties of all the environmental room. So these are the factors that should be covered under the environmental. So this is not only the job of the physical therapy or the therapy, it is a job of everyone. So this was the environmental room. Then we'll come to the responsibility of the staff. Again here, the what are the responsibility of the staff is there. Now, if you talk about the tertiary healthcare centers or the district level hospital, there are a number of the staff which started from medical superintendent to the facilities management staff and the educational staff and all. So here I will not focus much more on all those things, but I will just say that they have mentioned one, the interdisciplinary fault teams. So this is a new terminology which is used in the hospital, and basically such type of the teams are found in the European countries, in the foreign countries, where they appointed the interdisciplinary fall teams consisting of occupational therapy, physiotherapy, and other paramedical staff along with them. So this the major responsibility of the staff is to see the preventions of the falls in that in their area. For example, they have to see the establishing population which based fall risk level unit program. They should start some fall risk levels OPD or unit of what we have started. Then they should deploying in evidence-based standard of the practice. Then overseeing the policy within this the hospitals. They should promote across the facilities to the direct care of administrative logistical staff also. Then there are like nursing managers are there or nursing superintendents are there. So they have to see that how the fall related injury preventions can be program can be organized for enforcing the responsibility of the staff nurses to comply with the interventional program. So this is what they have to ensure that again the nurse has to ensure that all the nursing staff should receive the education about the fall prevention program. That is very important. It is not only the job of physiotherapy, even the nursing should also have the knowledge about the education about the fall prevention program, and they should understand the importance of compiling these fall prevention program with an intervention, because physiotherapy can visit once or twice, but throughout the time or throughout the day to see the risk, fall risk, the nurses are always 24 by 7 they are posted. So that is their job, and they should be also have the basic knowledge about the fall prevention strategies and risk factors and what are the risk factors and how it can be uh, controlled. So in short, there should be a awareness among the other disciplinary unit as other disciplinary category about the fall risk assessment, and they should have the awareness program of the fall risk assessment tools. So this is about the responsibility of the other staff. Now, intervention strategy. So I told you that on the base of your fall risk assessment in patient outpatient, you can develop the intervention strategy. But here I am not going to elaborate the intervention strategy because this work has been given to Chetna, and I hope that she will give a proper output about the intervention strategy uh, tomorrow or after tomorrow, whenever the she has been given. So she will talk on the intervention strategy. Then we have seen about the risk assessment or everything, and then what is the post fall procedure and management. So this is again very important factor here. You have seen the programs, awareness program, prevention, risk factor, everything. But what is post fall procedure and management? So there are two key elements of the post fall procedure and the management. One is the initial post fall assessment, and second is documentation and the follow. So when you talk about the initial fall assessment, so that is depend upon your what are the points that you have discussed during the uh, uh, fall risk assessment. So the priority, first priority in the initial post-fall assessment is that you have to assess the patient for any obvious injuries and find out what happened. Okay, that's very important. The information that what you have to collect it from the patient is that initial, you have to collect the information. First is what is the date and the time of fall. Second is patient's descriptions of fall, if possible. Now, description it can be in the two way. One is what was the patient trying to accomplish at the time of the fall. Second, where was the patient at the time of the fall. है ना, जैसे हम लोग बोलते हैं कि तुम जब गिरे तुम कहाँ थे या किधर थे, किससे गिरे थे, तो हम लोग जैसे बोलते हैं कि पेशेंट के रूम में थे या बाथरूम में थे या कॉमन रूम में थे या कॉरिडोर में थे या बाहर गए थे टर्न के लिए. So this is the second factor. So what was the first information that you have to collect in the initial post-fall assessment? First is date and time of the fall. Second is patient description of the fall in two ways. That is, what was the patient trying to accomplish at the time of the fall? Second, where was the patient at the time of the fall? Whether he was in patient room, bathroom, common room, whatever may be. Third, you have to take an short history or brief history from the family or the guardians or the providers notification from them. Four, you have to check for the vital signs, temperature, pulse rate, respiratory rate, blood pressure, orthostatic pulse, and this in lying, sitting, standing position in the different position. So that is the initial post-fall assessment. Then second, fifth is you have to take the history of the medication which was given twice or thrice or current medication. Sixth is patient assessment for injury, or it may be a probable for the cause of fall. What is the probability of the cause of fall in assessment? Type of injury, what was the probability of the cause? The cause may be because of some comorbid condition or some risk factor condition or some other factor. Comorbid condition means it can, if the patient may have the heart disease, neuropathy, or dementia, can be a comorbid condition. Risk factor like some risk like gait or the other balance disorder है या anti-gravity muscle weakness है, so that can be a risk factor. Again, at the same time, you can do the assessment by using the Morse or the Hendrich risk assessment tool you can use. Then at the same time, you have to assess for the other factor also, like patient whether using any mobility aid, yes or no, or what type of mobility aid was there, whether he was wearing a correct footwear. And जैसे हम लोग बोलते हैं पेशेंट्स को क्या टाइट शूज होना चाहिए, स्लीपरी स्लीपर पहनते हो तो ढीला नहीं होना चाहिए, ढीला है तो गिर सकते हैं, या बेल्ट बराबर नहीं होता है, वेलक्रो बराबर नहीं हो तो रिप हो सकता है. वेयरिंग करेक्ट फुटवेयर और नॉट, वेदर क्लोथिंग जो पैजामा पहनते हैं तो वो ड्राई हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है, या बहुत ही कभी चप्पल में तो फंस के गिर सकते हैं. सो dragging, whether the clothes are dragging on the floor or not. So these are the other risk factors you can see. And then some sensory aids, whether like glasses पहने के नहीं पहने थे विजन के लिए, या आवाज नहीं है तो hearing aids पहने के नहीं पहने थे. So this all those can be asked in the initial post-fall assessment. So this is how you have to cover in the post-fall assessment. And then this after the sensory aids and all, then you can also have the question on the environment also, like what type of bed he was using, whether the bed was in high position or the low position. Then if the bed was using, whether it was locked or not, because in most of the hospital the beds are with the wheels, so you have to see whether it was locked or not, because when you are getting up from the bed and if the wheels are not locked, sometimes the patient may go back and he may go back with the bed, and he may the chances of the falls may be more. Or he is using the wheelchair, whether the wheelchair was locked or not while standing up, or before using the wheelchair while sitting on the wheelchair. So then again you can ask for the floor, whether it was wet or not, and sometimes the floor may be wet. This can be also. Then about the lighting, appropriate lighting. Then bedside table, जो bedside table with it was within the reach or not, then area uncluttered है या clear है कि नहीं, and other items. Then the side rails are there or not, side rail है कि नहीं है, और है तो कितने हैं, how many are there, how many are on the bed. And sometimes because of there is no side rail, the patient chance of the falls may be there. Then was the treatment intervention plan being followed? If not, why not? So such questions asked to be asked. And then again you have to is whether the fall interdisciplinary fall team has visited to the patient or not, and whether they have notified those type of risk factors or not. So This is how the initial post-fall assessment has to do once the patient gets discharged out of patient. And then after this, then you have to come for the documentation and follow-up. Documentation and follow-up, we are doing very well in our department. Documentation, follow-up is not there because the patient, it doesn't come back. And initial post-fall assessment also we are doing very less, but this can be also followed in our department. The purpose of taking this policy was that I would like to focus you all that even we can and also implement such type of assessment, that is the initial post-fall assessment and documentation follow. So following the post-fall assessment, any immediate measures can be taken to protect the patient. That is called documentation. So an incident report should be completed and detailed progress note should be entered into the patient record, including the result of the post-fall assessment. Then refer the patient for further evaluation by physician to ensure other serious injuries which have not occurred. So such type of documentation can be done. And if you want, you can refer to the interdisciplinary treatment team to review the fall preventions and interventions and modify the intervention program or care program as per their suggestions. Then you have to communicate or to all doctors or to all the team, interdisciplinary team, in that the patient has fallen and is at the risk of fall again. And this is how the whole program, whole fall policy runs throughout the post-fall procedure and the management. Um, oh, this is what I have covered. Documentation. So these are the following references. What we have seen. Basically, I have um, um, took these policies from these Morse and Hendrich policies, and it is very well practiced at the geriatric hospital like the AIMS All Indian Institute of Medical Sciences Delhi. They have adopted very good practice in the geriatric hospital about this fall prevention strategy, documentation, follow, and the assessment program. And this is what, in short, I want to put in front of you about this fall prevention strategy and the policies. So thank you so much.